I still remember the night of October 12th, 2019, the night everything began. I was sitting in my small apartment in Warsaw, surrounded by stacks of old research papers, watching the rain slide down my window. I've been working as a data analyst for a private research firm called Helix Global. On paper, we handled logistics and data optimization for major corporations. But in truth, Helix had access to something far stranger, something that didn't belong to any company or maybe even to this world. It started with a routine task. My job was to clean up a database filled with fragments of encrypted communications from a discontinued government project, codenamed Mirror. The files were a mess: broken sentences, numbers, timestamps, and strings of coordinates that didn't point to any known locations. At first, I thought it was corrupted metadata, nothing more. But one file caught my eye: mirror underscore log underscore 12 underscore 07 underscore 1983. It contained a sequence of repeating symbols that formed a rhythm, almost like a pulse. When I graphed it out of curiosity, it looked like a waveform, except it wasn't sound. It was something else entirely. That night, I stayed in the office until 3 a.m. trying to decode the pattern. The deeper I went, the more I realized it was structured, intelligent. Like a language, but not human. My screen flickered once, twice, and then froze. When I restarted my computer, the Helix intranet locked me out completely. I thought it was a glitch until my personal email pinged. The message had no subject line. The sender was blank. Inside, there was just one line of text: "You shouldn't have seen that." I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I convinced myself it was a prank. Maybe a coworker had noticed my late login activity. But when I came back to the office, my workstation was gone. Literally gone. The desk was empty, cables cut, even the tag with my name removed. My supervisor, a man named Dr. Koval, simply told me my contract had been terminated for security reasons. No explanation, no paperwork, just a silent escort out of the building. For the next few days, I tried to forget about it. But my curiosity, or maybe my stupidity, wouldn't let me. I searched for Project Mirror online, but all I found were fragments on old research forums, claims about Soviet experiments in perception, reports of reflected consciousness, and one strange comment from a deleted user. They built a gateway, not a mirror. A week later, I received a package. No return address, just my name typed neatly on a white label. Inside, wrapped in brown paper, was an old magnetic tape and a handwritten note. "You wanted to understand. Now listen." I didn't own a tape player, so I borrowed one from a friend who restored old electronics. When I played it, at first, there was nothing but static. Then beneath the hiss, I heard a faint sequence of tones, slow, rhythmic pulsing. The same pattern I'd seen in the data. The air around me felt heavier, as if the sound carried something more than just noise. That's when I noticed the mirror. It hung on the opposite wall, just an ordinary bathroom mirror, but for a brief second, I swear the reflection lagged. My hand moved, and the reflection hesitated, then followed. It wasn't delayed by more than half a second, but it was enough to make my skin crawl. I turned off the tape. The reflection snapped back to normal. For days after that, the sound haunted me. I catch myself tapping the rhythm unconsciously on tables, on walls, on the steering wheel. I started dreaming about corridors lined with glass, each pane humming faintly with that same pulse. Every dream ended the same way, with my reflection turning its head before I did. I tried to tell myself it was stress, paranoia. Maybe I let the whole Helix situation get into my head. But then, a month later, I received another message. This time, it was a photo, a grainy black and white image showing what looked like a laboratory filled with mirrors. In the corner of the image, blurred but visible, was a man wearing my face. And beneath it, a short caption: Welcome back to Mirror. That's when I realized this wasn't a coincidence. Helix hadn't fired me to protect themselves. They'd fired me to protect it. I don't know what it is yet, but every time I catch my reflection in glass, I feel it watching me back. Something is moving on the other side, waiting for me to look too long. And somehow, I think it remembers me. Maybe this is where it all began. Maybe I was never supposed to find that file, but I did, and now I can't unsee it. So if you're hearing this, be careful with what you choose to look at. Some reflections look back harder than you expect. For weeks after that message, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was following me. Not in the streets, but in reflections. Store windows, puddles, even the dark surface of my coffee. Every time I caught a glimpse, there was a flicker of a distortion like static bleeding through glass. I started keeping track of them, writing notes, dates, locations. November 3rd, reflection delay, 0.4 seconds, bathroom mirror. November 7th, reflection smile before I did. Living room window. I wasn't sleeping much. My phone battery would die overnight. My clocks would desynchronize, and the rhythm from the tape kept echoing in my head. 3 slow beats, 1 quick. Like a code, I couldn't stop hearing. I tried to reach out to someone from Helix. Most of my old contacts ignored me, but one finally replied. Marta, a systems engineer I used to work with. Her message was short. Don't use your real name online. They monitor the term mirror. Meet me in person. We met 2 days later at a small cafe near the Vistula River. She looked thinner, nervous, constantly glancing at the window. She told me Helix had been subcontracted years ago by an organization calling itself the Orion Division, a private branch operating between European research agencies and old Cold War archives. Their goal wasn't to study mirrors. It was to study perception synchronization. According to Marta, Project Mirror wasn't about reflections at all. It was about alignment, matching consciousness across parallel observational fields. When I asked what that meant, she said they try to map what happens when 2 observers look at each other through identical conditions of reality. They believe the mirror was a way to connect. She hesitated, then added, they succeeded once. 1983. After that, everything was erased. Before I could ask more, she pushed a flash drive across the table and whispered, "Don't open it near glass." Then she stood up and left. I never saw her again. Back home, I sat staring at the flash drive for hours. I finally plugged it into an old laptop I'd wiped clean. The drive contained a single folder named Echo_Records. Inside were 12 video files and 1 document labeled Protocol_Delta. The videos were grainy black and white footage of a laboratory with rows of mirrors. In each recording, a person sat facing their reflection as a faint hum played in the background, the same rhythm from the tape. At first, nothing happened. Then, in the 6th video, the reflection moved independently, looking directly into the camera while the real person sat motionless. The file glitched and ended abruptly. I opened the document next. It was a partial transcript of an experiment conducted in July 1983 at a site referred to as Mirror Station 3. The lead scientist was listed as Koval A. My blood went cold. The same name as my supervisor. According to the notes, the experiment involved exposing a subject to resonant visual feedback loops, using the reflection to stabilize a signal described as non-local consciousness echo. The final entry read, subject responsive, reflection active, terminate procedure, containment breach probable. After reading that, I unplugged the drive and threw it into a drawer. I didn't want to know more, but the damage was already done. That night, I woke up to a faint light flickering across the room. My laptop was on, even though I'd shut it down. The screen showed a distorted image of my own webcam feed, except the reflection wasn't me. It was sitting still, staring, while I was moving. Then it smiled. The next day, I took the mirror off my wall and covered every reflective surface in my apartment. But that didn't stop it. Whenever I turned on my phone, the front camera would open by itself. The black screen of my TV shimmered faintly, like something was moving inside it. I started receiving calls from unknown numbers. When I picked up, there was no voice, just the sound of the same pulsing rhythm, slower now, deeper. I could almost feel it in my chest. I began to notice people watching me, or at least I thought they were people. Same faces, different places. A man in a gray coat standing across the street, no matter where I went. I saw him in a shop window once, but when I turned around, no one was there. A few days later, I went back to the Helix building. It was empty, abandoned. The windows were boarded up, and a security sign read, "Property of Orion Division." Inside, dust covered everything. But when I reached the main server room, I saw something that didn't belong, a single standing mirror draped in cables, humming softly. The sound was faint but unmistakable, the pulse. I approached slowly. The air felt colder near it, the hum vibrating through my teeth. My reflection was distorted, like static underwater. Then just for a moment it cleared, and the face staring back wasn't mine. It was older, pale, eyes hollow but alive, and it whispered something I could barely hear through the glass. "You opened the channel again." I stumbled back, yanked the cables out, and ran. I don't remember getting home. My hands were shaking, my ears ringing. That night, I burned a flash drive. But deep inside, I knew it was pointless. The connection had already been made. Now, sometimes when I look out the window at night, I see lights reflecting in ways they shouldn't. Angles that don't make sense. Shadows that move where nothing should. I think whatever was trapped behind the mirror isn't trapped anymore. And I think it remembers me by name. It's been 3 months since that night in the Helix building. I've changed apartments twice, stopped using anything with a reflective surface, and yet it still finds me. I know how that sounds. Paranoid, delusional, but I can't deny what I've seen. Every time I close my eyes, I see that face. The older version of me. The eyes that don't blink. It's not just in mirrors anymore. I see it in other people. Their eyes flicker, their smiles twist, and for a split second, I can tell something else is looking through them. The pulse hasn't stopped either. It's stronger now. I can hear it in electronic devices, the buzz of lights, even the rhythm of my own heartbeat. It's like the world itself is syncing to that frequency. I started recording the sound, trying to isolate it again. At exactly 2:13 a.m. every night, it grows louder, as if it's coming from somewhere close, inside the walls, inside the air. Then, one night, I decided to record myself while I slept. When I checked the footage the next morning, the camera had frozen at 2:13 a.m., but the audio kept running. The rhythm changed. 3 slow beats, 1 fast, and then a whisper. You can't hide from your reflection. My blood turned to ice. I had no more. I broke my rule and went back online using a fake identity. On an encrypted forum, I found threads referencing Mirror Station 3 and something called Echo Syndrome. Most posts were deleted, but one remained, written by a user named Delta Origin. It said, "If you hear the pulse, it means your resonance threshold has been breached. You're not listening to it. It's listening to you." There was a file attached, a schematic diagram showing 2 overlapping circles, labeled Observer and Echo. In the middle, where they met, was written one word: fusion. The realization hit me like a wave. Project Mirror wasn't just about observing reflections. It was about merging them. Whatever they built in 1983 didn't just connect 2 consciousnesses. It created a bridge. And now that bridge was open again. I couldn't let it spread. I needed to find the original site, the one from the experiment logs. I spent days tracing fragments of coordinates hidden in the files Marta gave me. They led me to a remote region near the Bieshchety Mountains, an old industrial area that used to belong to Soviet research facilities. When I arrived, the place looked abandoned, cracked concrete, rusted fences, the smell of damp earth. But deep underground, through a half-collapsed stairwell, I found it, a massive chamber lined with dozens of shattered mirrors, each one wired to dead machinery. In the center stood a single mirror still intact, surrounded by a faint ring of light pulsing in that same rhythm. As I approached, the hum grew louder, vibrating through my bones. My reflection stood perfectly still while I moved closer. The air felt electric. Then the reflection began to move, slowly, deliberately, raising its hand before I did. The glass rippled like the surface of water. I took one more step, and the lights in the room flickered violently. A flash of images filled my mind. Laboratories, faces I didn't recognize, endless corridors of mirrors reflecting into infinity. Then I heard again, that voice, but clearer this time, right behind my thoughts. The channel was never closed. You are the link. Pain shot through my skull. My vision fractured, showing multiple perspectives at once. My reflection, the room, the mirror's other side. I was seeing through it. There were figures standing in the mirrored world, dozens of them, all watching, motionless. And every single one had my face. I stumbled back, clutching my head, but the sound kept growing, the pulse matching my heartbeat until I couldn't tell which was which. The mirror rippled again, and my reflection stepped forward, pressing its hand against the glass. I felt it cold, solid like touching ice. Then my hand moved on its own, mirroring it perfectly, no hesitation. For a moment, the glass between us vanished. I felt something pulling me, not physically, but deeper, like my mind was being inverted, drawn inside out. Then everything went black. When I woke up, the chamber was dark. My ears were ringing, the hum gone. The mirror lay shattered, pieces scattered across the floor. But in each shard, I saw something horrifying. My reflection wasn't matching me anymore. It was out of sync, staring back with a faint, unnatural smile. And when I blinked, it didn't. I screamed, smashing every piece I could, but the image remained, multiplying, repeating endlessly. I ran out into the freezing night, covered in cuts, my hands trembling. That was 3 nights ago. Since then, the reflections have followed me wherever I go. Not just in mirrors, in water, glass, even people's eyes. Sometimes when I speak, I hear an echo that doesn't belong to me, whispering words I didn't say. My heartbeat still matches the rhythm. And sometimes, just before I fall asleep, I feel the pull again, like the glass is waiting to reopen. Maybe I never left that chamber. Maybe the mirror didn't break. Maybe I did. It's been weeks since the incident in the chamber, but time doesn't feel real anymore. Days blur into nights, and I can't tell when I'm awake or dreaming. Sometimes I wake up in places I don't remember going to. Sometimes I see my own face in reflections where I shouldn't, in someone's eyes, on a passing bus window, even in the dark glass of a turned-off phone screen. It always looks slightly wrong. The expression is off, the timing too slow. It's like my reflection is watching me now, studying every move I make. I've stopped using my real name. I don't answer calls. I cover every surface that can reflect light, but the more I hide, the closer it gets. The pulse hasn't stopped. It's quieter now, but constant, like a heartbeat under the floor of the world. Sometimes it syncs with my own, and I can feel it tugging at something inside me, pulling me toward whatever is still on the other side of that glass. I try to reach out to Marta again, but her messages bounce back. I search for her online, nothing. No record, no trace, like she never existed. I even looked up Dr. Koval. dead since 1995, officially. But I remember him alive, standing in front of me less than a year ago. So either the records are fake, or the thing I saw that day wasn't him. Lately, I've been seeing others too, faces I don't know, but they all have that same distant stare, that same flicker in the reflection of their eyes. It's like they're infected with it. Maybe they're part of the experiment. Maybe they're echoes spreading. 2 nights ago, I woke to the sound of my own voice whispering in the dark. I thought I was dreaming, but my phone was recording again, even though I'd smashed the camera weeks ago. The playback was faint, distorted. My voice said, "You're not supposed to exist here." Then silence. I don't remember saying that. I don't even remember being awake. The next morning, I noticed something worse, a faint shimmer in the air around me, like heat rising from asphalt. When I moved, it followed. For a brief moment, I saw my reflection outside of me, walking half a second behind. I tried to record it, but every video I take now corrupts instantly. Frames skip, distort, or show places I've never been. Once I saw myself standing in that underground chamber again, except this time, the mirror behind me wasn't broken. It was whole, glowing faintly, waiting. I don't know if it's a recording, a vision, or something trying to lure me back. Maybe it's all the same now. I've started hearing voices at the edge of the hum. They don't speak in words, more like memories replaying out of order. Things I never experienced but feel real. A child laughing in a corridor, the hum of a generator, the sound of glass cracking in slow motion. And always at the center of it, that pulse. 3 slow beats, 1 fast. I can't escape it. I can feel it vibrating in my bones. Yesterday, I found something carved into the wall of my new apartment. Letters scratched deep into the plaster, like by a hand trembling in panic. It said, "You are the mirror." I don't remember writing it, but the handwriting is mine. The deeper I look into all this, the more I realize something terrible. The reflection isn't a copy. It's the original. I'm the echo.